This was a very exciting week. How often do you receive the perfect gift? Something you've always wanted, something that leaves you happy and smiling in the way that no new pair of socks or tie ever could. To set the stage, let me remind you of a small moment in one of my previous videos when I was comparing the skull features of Homo erectus to the skull features of Australopithecus afarensis. To show you the real drama of his skull, I should have an earlier skull from an Australopithecus. But these are expensive. Well, not this one, because this one was a gift from someone who knows me very well and knows exactly the kind of gift that I would appreciate. But how much would you pay for a nice replica Australopithecus skull? Right, not enough to be able to purchase the entire set. So I just have this one. And today, I present the perfect gift. This beautiful replica reconstruction of the skull of Australopithecus afarensis, rendered with all the care and fidelity that one could dream of. I think I understand now how Pygmalion felt. You know, the ancient sculptor who fell in love with the statue that he had carved? Because I could fall in love with this skull. So I need to thank some people, not by name, but you know who you are. Several of you guys, regular viewers of this video, saw the need and got this skull to me. Thank you guys very much. There's a model here that I'd like to encourage. With this skull in my possession, I can now make videos of Australopithecus afarensis with the real fossil of this once living creature. Well, I can make videos featuring this replica reconstruction, virtually indistinguishable from what the real skull would have looked like. And that is exactly what I'm going to do. But this is not that video. I think for next week I'm going to do the best I can to present the features of the Australopithecus afarensis skull and to place afarensis in its evolutionary context. But there's a wonderful precedent here. If you would like to present a skull or an artifact, and it certainly doesn't have to be paleoanthropology, either out of the sheer joy of giving or because you'd like to see a video featuring that skull or artifact, I welcome such initiatives. And in like fashion, if you have a topic that you'd like me to make a video about, leave it in the comments, and if it works for me, I'd be happy to do it. Well, here it is. Or perhaps I should say, here he is, because this is a skull replica of a male Australopithecus afarensis. I'll describe its characteristic features next week, but for now let me remind you that this skull is from one of the most famous of all hominin species, achieving great renown after the discovery of another member of its species, known as Lucy, discovered in 1974 in the Afar region of Ethiopia. Ethiopia, Tanzania, and Kenya in the East African Rift Valley have been the sites of the finds of all Australopithecus afarensis fossils to date. Lucy is dated to about 3.2 million years of age, while the afarensis species as a whole seems to have a range of about 2.9 million to 3.9 million years of age. Just let me show you one cool thing about this skull. Australopithecus is remarkable in many ways, but one of the most striking is the way that its skeleton and its skull mark a transition to upright walking or bipedalism. There are signs of this transition for millions of years before, arguably as early as 7 million years ago in Sahelanthropus. But any direct relationship between earlier bipedal hominins or partially bipedal hominins is purely speculative at this point. The total number of fossils in these earlier species could fit in a shoebox, but the process is well underway in Australopithecus. So one of the signs of this transition to bipedalism in this skull is the location of the foramen magnum. Now let me see if you can see this. In this skull, you see this large opening right here, which is where the spinal cord emerges from the skull on its way down to the vertebral column. And you can see that this is the back of the skull, that this is not all the way back, but sort of somewhere central. Now here in this diagram, you can see the variation in the position of the foramen magnum in 3 different animals: the dog, the chimpanzee, and the human. In the dog, the foramen magnum is all the way at the back of the skull. In the non-bipedal chimp and gorilla, the foramen magnum is located toward the back of the skull, with the spinal cord exiting at a slight angle. If the eyes are going to face forward when you're upright or walking, which is extremely useful if you want to see what's ahead of you, if you're walking on 4 legs, you need a foramen magnum in the back, a spinal cord exiting from the back, so that the head can be attached to the vertebral column in the back, and the eyes point forward. This attachment requires powerful neck muscles to hold the head in place. In humans, and let me show you, here's a human skull replica, and you can see that the foramen magnum is central. It's not toward the back, it's not as far back as it is in Australopithecus, it's really quite central. So the location of the foramen magnum directly under the skull allows the eyes to face forward when the skull is upright. The foramen magnum is positioned centrally, directly downwards, skull atop the vertebral column, requiring less powerful neck muscles, which allows the human body to be positioned vertically for upright walking. In Afarensis, the foramen magnum is positioned closer to the human position, central under the skull, one indication among many that Afarensis has made adaptations to habitual bipedal locomotion. Anyway, before I get carried away talking more about this skull and Australopithecus in general, I'm going to stop here and pick it up in more detail next week. Artifacts, specimens, and ideas are most welcome. I hope you love this skull half as much as I do. Be sure to subscribe. You can follow my Instagram, and thanks a lot for watching.